2009 Mini Cooper water pump replacement. I'm Brian Eslick from Automotive, and I'm going to walk you through that process. We're going to start by removing the passenger side headlight. We're removing the 10mm bolts, the 4 of them, and right there and there. And the electrical connector just comes off by squeezing the tab here and pulling off. Next, we're going to start removing this cowl support here. So we're going to remove the 13s here. We're also going to remove them on this side and remove the 10mm bolt that holds the one headlight on this side. And we're also going to remove the clips that hold the grille on right here. So there's 4 of those. And there's also a 10mm bolt here and the same one on this side. We'll remove those two. Remove the 4 T27 torque bolts, 2 here and 2 on the driver's side to hold the hood latches on. Now this is loose. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to get to this engine mount. We're going to take this engine mount out. So what I do is, because it has cables hooked up into it stuff, I just kind of set it out, pull it out of my way. You don't have to take it all the way out of the car. Just kind of set it out of the way, maybe lift it up a little bit with a bungee cord and hold it out of your way. So I put a floor jack underneath the oil pan using a block of wood and jack engine. Now that you got the engine supported, go ahead and take out the 18mm nut that goes here, and the 2 13mm on the corners, and the one for the ground cable, and set those and pull the engine mount off the other side. Now you can jack the engine up a little higher. Next, you can remove the 2 nuts or bolts that hold the motor mount on, and take those out. After that, there's a 10mm bolt here and here. We're going to remove those, and we're going to remove the female torques that are mount here, 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 and here. Those Torx bits are E12s, that's what they're called. Anyways, so after you want to remove this bracket right here and remove that out of the way and set it aside. You can see the water pump in there. Now we're going to remove it, loosen up the 10 bolts. The water pump doesn't have an actual belt. It has this funky little little tensioner that's kind of like a press rub-in fit. I'll show you in a second. Okay, once you get the bolts loose, what you want to do is right down here is a little ripcord, and I have a pair of long needle nose pliers on it. And you pull this cord out, and what that does is it releases the tensioner, and then once that's pulled out, then you can pull the pulley off. So right here is that little ripcord I was telling you about. So you're going to pull that, and that takes this tensioner and it pushes it downwards, and it allows you to remove the pulley. So now the pulley it's free, and you can get it out. You can work it out of the car. So on Mini Coopers, they don't actually have a belt. They have a pulley, and it has a rubber belt glued to the pulley, and then it has a tensioner. It kind of squeezes against it that applies the tension on it, and allows it to catch it and turn it. There's not a lot of force on this thing, so when it goes back together, it's a little tricky getting it back together. So now that we got that out, we can get to our bolts for the water pump. So I'm going to put a bucket underneath the car. Put a bucket under the car, and now we can get to the 4 bolts that are one here, here, and one down there. We get those, and then we can get the pump off. So now to get the pump actually out of the car, what I did was slowly lower the engine down, very slowly. Lower the engine or the jack down until it came to a full. It has a mount on the bottom, so it won't fall out of the car or anything like that. So if you slowly let it down, then I lifted the car up, and I was able to fish it out. I had to lightly pry the AC hose just a little bit, like maybe a 1/4 inch like that, and snake it out right here underneath on the right side of the axle, on the back side of the axle, and it came out right here. A little bit of effort, but it'll come out. And there's the tensioner you can see right there. That's the actual tensioner right up there, and it moves up and down. So as you can see on the original water pump, they're made out of plastic, and they warp and they leak, or the plastic impeller here will come off the splines and it'll stop spinning. That's one of the problems with these. And the new one, these are upgraded with aluminum pumps, So like I said, the new water pumps are usually aluminum. So you put your gasket in like so, and you'll put it back in the same way it came out. You'll just kind of route it up inside there, and go up and over the, or under the AC hose. You'll go under the AC hose, and you can see the pump is over there now. It's on the other side of the sway bar. And then you'll go behind the AC hose and up and around. If you have skinny arms like I do, you can actually stick your arms through here under the sway bar on the back side of the rack and pinion, and help guide it up with your hands. So one hand will go around the side like so, and the other hand will be on this side to help push it and kind of move things, maneuver it in there. It's a little tricky, but you can get it in there. And just be careful not to snag your gasket. So now that you got the water pump kind of routed up in there the best you can, now you lower the car back down and slowly jack the engine back up. Okay, so now that we got our water pump back into position, go ahead and put the 5 bolts that hold it in. So you go ahead and torque those down. Okay, now that we got our water pump bolted back up, what we're going to do is we're going to pull our ripcord here on the tensioner here. So we're going to grab the needle on those pliers and just pull it out like so, and that's all you need to do. And then what that does is it pushes the tensioner down. Now you can slip your pulley on. So with your other hand, put your pulley on. Once you get your pulley on, go ahead and put the bolts in it to start it. And then once you get the bolts started, then you can release your ripcord, and that puts the tension back on it. Okay, so once you get the bolts all on and tight, then you can release your tensioner on your, so go ahead and push the, and what that does is it draws it back up tight. Now it's tight on the pulley. It's just a light little friction on it. You don't need a whole lot on these. Okay. So one of the ways, the way I tighten these bolts is I use a double wrench system. So you put a wrench on there and you rotate it around. What happens is the wrench will catch the stud like so, and then you can use your other wrench to tighten up the other 2 bolts, and then you spin the water pump, and then you tighten up, and you just keep spinning it around. So you use the backup wrench to wedge against the shaft like that, and that holds it in place. And that's it. That's how you tighten up the water pump pulley and release your tensioner. And then after that, we're going to put the motor mounts back on. Put this small bracket back on first with the 4 E12 Torx bolts and the 2 10mm bolts that hold the wiring harness back on. Put that on, and next we're going to put the actual rubber mount, the motor mount back in. So I'll put that in with the 2 bolts and tighten those down. So now I'm going to put the top part of our engine mount part back on, and I'm just going to slip them into place. And I'll start the long bolts first, and then I'll use my floor jack to lower and raise the engine to adjust, and then you'll also have to pry the engine itself a little bit with your hands and maneuver the engine around to where you want it to get everything to line back up. Once everything's lined up, I'll start everything by hand. Then I'll slowly snug everything up by hand, and then I'll lower the engine down. So now that I got the top bolt down and tightened up, the last step is to put the 16 or 18mm nut here back on, and also start your, don't forget your ground strap here. And when I was to line it up, I had to grab the engine block here and move it and pull it, like rock the engine back and forth to get the bolts to line up. So now I'm going to tighten this up, and then after that we're going to put this metal shielding back down, the core support shield back down. So now we put the core support brace back on. Make sure you tuck the grill. It goes on the inside of the grill. And now we're going to start with these little Torx that we took out here for the hood latch. We'll start there, and then we'll work our way with the 10s and the 13s that were in the corners. We'll do that all the way around. So now that this is on, I didn't tighten them up. I just put them all. I started all the bolts all the way around it. And I'm going to put the headlight in, plug the headlight back in, and then start the bolts for the headlight. And once I got that all started, then I'll start from the corners here, and I'll just work my way around and tighten all the bolts until I end up over here at this corner, and then I'm done. So one of the things when I'm tightening these bolts up, I try to look for where the dirt marks were used to be, the witness marks we call them, and try to line everything back up the way it came apart. So now that everything's tight on the core support here, we're going to put our final clips that held the grill in. So we'll put those in and push them in, and then lock the grill down. And then after that, we're going to fill it up with coolant. And okay, when you go to fill this up with coolant, you got to back this bleeder screw off. This is the old thermostat housing here. You can see you got to back the screw out, and that's right next to the coolant temp sensor. So I use a long screwdriver like so, and crack it free, a couple threads, and then fill it up with coolant until it's you'll see it leaking out. So once only coolant comes out and the bottle doesn't really drop anymore, all the air is pretty much split out of the system. Now you just want to tighten up the screw here, and it's just a snug fit. It's not super tight. It's really easy to snap that off or pull the threads out of it. So just tighten the screw that's down there snug, and then after that you're going to suck a little bit of coolant out of it, and you're going to start the car and let it run, and make sure the thermostat opens up. And then when the thermostat opens up, you also want to check for your fan operations, and that's it. And that's how you do the water pump on your 2009 Mini Cooper. I'm Brian Eslick from How To Automotive, and I'd like to thank you guys for watching the videos and remind you to subscribe. Thank you again.